Hey, what's up, family? In today's video, we're going to be talking about the 8 key barriers to relatability in your relationships. And we're also going to talk about how to enhance your relatability skills to ensure your relationships sail. But before we get into that, I want to welcome everyone to my video today. If it's your very first time watching, my name is Josh Rezzi, also known as Coach Josh, and my goal is to make sense of your life and to help you grow holistically for God's optimal use. And after watching this video, like, man, I like this guy's vibe. Go ahead and subscribe, and I would love to be your coach in line. But for those who's been rocking with me for a long time, I just want to say thank you so much for trusting what God has entrusted in me, and I pray it is treasure to you. So let's get right into today's message. And also, make sure you stay to the end because I have an activity, I have a worksheet that's going to help you better assess your ability to relate in your relationship. But for those who haven't heard, I have released my 11th book. It is called The Purpose of Relationships. We have a workbook as well as card games and a coaching program to assist each and every one of us to be better in our relationships, all of them, from God, ourselves, and others. And so for the next few weeks or few months, we'll be talking about points from this book. So let's get right into it. The first thing I want to read is this. The number one ability missing in many relationships is relatability. The number one ability missing in many relationships is relatability. In the last video that I did about this topic, we talked about the word relate. We talked about what it means to connect. We talked about what it means to understand. And so now we're going deeper into the word relatability so that you and I will begin to better understand what it means to cultivate an ability to sustain relatability with a common goal to a divine destination. And so before we get into all those great things, let's go ahead and define what relatability is. Relatability refers to the ability to connect and identify with others based on shared experiences, feelings, or characteristics. It involves understanding and empathizing with others and their perspectives and feelings, fostering a sense of understanding, trust, and connection in relationships. Relatability is important. See, it doesn't matter about you and I having relational aspirations. We have to have relatability. We have to be able to say, hey, I relate, I connect at a deeper level. A lot of people, they want to connect at a physical level. A lot of people, they want to connect at a mental, emotional level. But the goal is to connect at all levels, being able to relate to another person spiritually, to be able to relate to their mental fortitude, their emotional stability, and their physical goals. Because in order for a relationship to sail towards their divine destinations, both people must sustain relatability. And a lot of relationships are missing this. A lot of people are joined partially. They're only connected one dimensionally. But it's important for us to understand the holistic aspects of our relationship. I also wrote here, relatability is often considered the most important ability in any relationship because it forms the foundation for understanding, connection, and mutual respect between individuals. Here's why relatability is crucial in our relationship. Number one, relatability builds trust. When people feel that they can relate to someone, trust is naturally built. Relatability allows us to feel understood and accepted, which are fundamental elements of trust in any relationship. So when it comes to being in a relationship and going forward with it, there has to be trust built. So if I understand where you're coming from, whether, especially in all our relationships, sort of core four relationships is with God, ourselves, our family, as well as those under our influence. Those relationships are interconnected. We'll do a video on that later. But when you begin to look at your relationship with God and you begin to see and understand him more, and you begin to understand yourself more, and you begin to understand your spouse more and your children more, it builds trust because everybody desires to be understood. It's a relatability allows us to feel understood and accepted, which are fundamental elements of trust in any relationship. Also, relatability enhances, like Living Adventure says, enhances communication. Relatability fosters open and honest communication. When people feel they can relate to each other, they are more likely to express their thoughts, feelings, and concerns openly, leading to better understanding and resolution of conflicts. So when you have relatability in your relationships and you're able to understand and you're able to make an individual feel comfortable, where individuals feel like you're actively listening, where people begin, those that's close to you, begin to feel that you care about them, that you care about how they feel, that it creates and opens an atmosphere or an environment where everybody feels safe to communicate. My question to you is, do your loved ones feel heard? Do your loved ones feel like you care about what they think? Does your spouse feel like you care about how they feel? Do your children feel like you care? Do you even feel like you care about yourself? So relatability also enhances communication. Number three, relatability strengthens connections. Relatability strengthens the emotional bond between individuals. Sharing common experiences, interests, or values creates a deeper connection and sense of belonging, which are essential for the longevity and quality of your relationship. When we understand this concept, we'll begin to say, hey, how strong are the connections that I have with my loved ones? How strong is your connection with God? How strong is your connection with yourself? How strong is your connection with your spouse? How strong is your connection with your children? How strong is your connection with those under your influence? And when you begin to relate to other people and you create those emotional bonds rooted in empathy, and you begin to share common experiences. Even right now, my relatability with you is strengthened. When you begin to say, hey, coach understands where I'm coming from. Coach also struggled with suicidal thoughts. Coach used to, oh, not now, but used to struggle with that. Or coach used to struggle with all these different things. And when I begin to express shared experiences, it creates relatability, even with those under your influence. It says sharing common experiences, interests, or values. These things creates a deeper connection and a sense of belonging. That's why a lot of individuals in relationships must understand that it's important to share. Sharing is caring. That you're willing to say, let's share common experiences. Let's share common interests or values. So when you're in a marriage, you want to say, okay, even though we may not have the same a level of potency of interest when it comes to when it comes to some things that you may be interested in, let me see how I can share that experience with you, with your children. How can I share that experience? Right now with my daughter, I'm excited about the discovery of the divine purpose in her. And it doesn't matter what sport, no matter what field she goes into, my goal is to share in that interest. Because if I share in that interest, she'll feel like she belongs. And that's what happens with us and God. When we begin to say, do I share the same interest with him? Let's keep going for time's sake. Also, relatability promotes empathy and compassion. Being relatable encourages empathy and compassion towards others, and others' experiences and perspectives. It helps individuals to be more considerate and supportive, fostering caring and nurture relationship environment. So relatability, or the ability to relate, the ability to connect, the ability to understand, it promotes empathy and compassion. We'll keep going because I have a lot of points that I want to cover before I answer some questions. Number 5, it facilitates collaboration and teamwork. In professional settings, relatability is vital for effective teamwork and collaboration. Also in marriages, when team members, husband and wife, family, or even on your workplace, these individuals can relate to each other. They can work together more harmoniously, leveraging each other's strengths and perspectives to achieve common goals. So relatability says, hey, let's come together. Relatability understands teamwork. And relatability facilitates a collaboration and teamwork. So right now, as a husband, I'm on a team. My wife has skills, my wife has talents, my wife has abilities, and I have as well. And the beautiful thing about divine relationships in regards to what God puts together or arrange, you'll begin to see that My wife may have arranged in this area, I may have arranged in this together, but when they arrange together, it enhances our range. Now we can go forward farther. Now we'll be able to say, okay, how can I leverage my wife's skills and talents? And how can she leverage mine to create a synergy, to create a teamwork? A lot of relationships lack teamwork. A lot of relationships lack collaboration. That's why I said in the last video that family businesses are essential. That when I counsel couples and young couples, the first thing that I think about, can y'all work together as a team? Do you have common goals, common interests, common values to be able to connect together, working together so that your guys can collaborate for a divine purpose? So the 5 things that we see here that makes relatability important when it comes to our relationships is number 1, it builds trust. Number 2, it enhances communication. Number 3, it strengthens connections. Number 4, it promotes empathy and compassion. And number 5, it facilitates collaboration and teamwork. Let's scroll down a little bit and let's get to the problem or the causes to these problems. I have a quote that I posted not only in my book, but also on social media. I post, don't wait until it's too late to relate. Or in other words, don't wait till it's too late to relate. So many individuals are waiting too late to relate. See, right now, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, a lot of individuals, no matter where they are in life, they're losing their marriage as we speak. They're losing their children as we speak. They're losing the vibrancy and fire in relation with God as we speak. They're losing themselves as we speak. They're losing their legacy as we speak. That's why it is not wise for you and I to wait to relate. Because if you wait to relate, then my friend, you will lose that individual. How many entrepreneurs have I coached and counseled that they have already lost their families, have already lost their legacy, and now they want coaching to help sustain those relationships, try to get them back? It's because a lot of people, they put a lot of different things before the main things. They have poor values, core values. They have poor priority management. And it's causing them to wait till it's too late to relate. Right now, you got to make sure that you're endeavoring to relate to your spouse, to your children, to relate to God, to relate to yourself. There's a lot of people who are going to wait too late to relate to God because they have no relatability in them. They don't have the Holy Spirit that relates to the Father. They don't have the blood of the Son in them to relate to the Father. And so if the triune God is not relating within your essence, then my friend, when it comes to eternity, you're not going to be able to enjoy it in heaven. And some people are going to wait till it's too late to relate to themselves. How many people have died? And like Pastor Miles Monroe said, he said the wealthiest place on the planet is in the graveyards, where people's purposes and talents and gifts died with them. How many people are going to wait till it's too late to relate to their original self? You and I cannot afford to wait to relate to God or wait to relate to ourselves, because if we don't relate to God and if we don't relate to ourselves, we're not going to be relatable. And we're not going to have any abilities of relatability to be able to sustain relatability for the full duration of a marriage, for the full duration of the development of a child. See, life is a marathon, not a sprint. The world is training sprinters when God is trying to train marathon runners. Everything God created has to have a marathon mindset, that you have to train for the long distance. You have to train for legacy, train for eternity. You have to put the work in to ensure that you can last, that you can sustain. See, marriage is a marathon. Right now, I'm on lap 6 of this marathon called marriage. My wife and I, we have been married for 6 years, and we're on a 6th lap. My goal is to get to the 40th lap, the 50th lap, the 60th lap. My goal is to make sure that when the race is done, I can say it was worth the race, that I didn't wait till it was too late. Right now, every time my daughter wants to play, do you know how long it took for me to get to this video? While I was in there playing with my daughter, she kept rolling around. And every time I walked to the door, she's crawling off the bed, running to the door, wanting me to play with her. So I have to make sure that I say, hey man, I'm gonna start strong now to ensure that I sustain a level of relatability where I don't lose my daughter to the streets, where I don't lose my daughter to a dude, I don't lose my daughter to the world. And a lot of people are waiting until it's too late to relate, and they lose what they have. I wrote some things that go with this. I said, don't wait until it's too late to relate emphasizes the importance of building and nurturing relationships proactively rather than waiting for a crisis or significant event to prioritize connections. That's deep. This quote emphasized the importance of building and nurture relationships. Those key. Relationships must be built and relationships must be nurtured. See, my wife, we have built a relationship. We have built the foundation of a marriage. It is our responsibility to nurture the intangible qualities to provide the maintenance needed for the marriage. And a lot of people, they miss that. They don't know how to build and they don't know how to nurture. It says this quote emphasized the importance of building and nurture relationship. Even with God, you have to build a relationship with God. You have to build a relationship with yourself. You have to build a relationship that's able to relate to a spouse one day if you're single, or relate to your spouse right now if you have one, or to prepare yourself to relate to your children when you have them, or to relate to your children since you have them. You have to build it. If you don't build it, they won't come. So if you haven't built a strong relationship with God and you haven't built a strong relationship with yourself, then you can't expect God to bring the one to you. Or if you're building a marriage before you have built a relationship with God or built a relationship with yourself, then your marriage is vulnerable and it's fragile. If you want to have sex and then make a child and you haven't built a relationship with God, a relationship with yourself, and you have a complicated relationship with the baby mamas or the baby daddy, all of a sudden now you built something prematurely to what should have already been built. And how many people are building on sand and not on the rock? I love when the word of God says that build your house on the rock. It didn't say build your house on a rock. A rock means that there's other types of rocks. But the word of God says the rock. The rock is Christ, the cornerstone of our lives, that ensures that we are in alignment, that ensures that the cornerstone holds the weight. I did a study on the cornerstone. The cornerstone not only, it does multiple things, but it's two things I want to share right now. A cornerstone ensures that the building is aligned, that it's built straight. It sets the course. It sets the line. Also, the cornerstone holds the most weight of the building. And so if your life is not built and aligned by the cornerstone of Christ, founded on him as the rock, then your life will be out of alignment and you will be carrying the weight. That's why relationships have to be started with God and have to be connected to self before you try to gain wealth in any other relationship. So you have to build and nurture. And we'll do that. We'll do another video on that as well. It says emphasize the importance of building and nurturing relationships proactively. A lot of people are reactive in their relationships and not proactive in their relationships. A lot of us, we are reactive, that our relationship is only tight when it's tough times, or we only come together when there's some things going on, or we take things or individuals seriously if they're in serious conditions. But the goal is to ensure that you don't wait till it's too late, is to be proactive. Rather than waiting for a crisis or significant event to prioritize connections. How are your priorities? Right now, I prioritize God first, me second, my wife third, my daughter fourth. Yesterday, I had to apologize to my wife because when I came home, I gave my daughter more kisses than her. I was out of order. I made it a practice before that moment that anytime that I come into a room with them, I kiss my wife first, then my daughter. My wife had to correct me. She was like, so she gonna get more kisses than me? I said, you right. You know what I'm saying? You right. And then we proceeded. But what I'm saying is that when God is first, you in second, your spouse is third, your children's fourth, it creates a synergy that keeps your relationship thriving. It says waiting until it's too late can result in missed opportunities to strengthen bonds, resolve conflicts, and foster understanding. Let me read it again. Waiting until it's too late to relate can result in missed opportunities to strengthen bonds, resolve conflicts, and foster understandings. Those three things are essential. You and I cannot afford to miss opportunities with God. We cannot afford to miss opportunities with ourselves. We cannot afford to miss opportunities with family. We cannot miss the opportunities, because if we wait till it's too late, we miss opportunities to strengthen those bonds, so that when tough times come, y'all tight. When great times come, y'all tight. And when you have in rough times, you have such a mission-driven relationship with God, a mission-driven relationship with yourself, a mission-driven relationship with your family, that you don't got time to let conflicts dictate. And foster understanding. That's difficult, to foster understanding. That means to say, okay, I may not understand everything about my wife, but my goal is to endeavor to understand. I may not understand everything that comes with God, but my goal is to create opportunities where I can develop that bond, where I can gather more understanding about him, so I can get to a place where I can count it all joy, where I get to the place where I'm able to understand tested faith, etc. Also with yourself, you'll begin to say, hey man, I'm going to make sure that I foster understanding about my gifts and talents. I wrote here, relationships require ongoing effort, communication, and understanding to thrive. Relationships require this. They require ongoing effort. So many people, they got married and that was the last day of effort. No, relationships require ongoing effort. They require communication, and they require understanding to thrive. Let's keep on for time's sake. By waiting, you risk losing the chance to cultivate meaningful connections, and may find it more challenging to rebuild or repair relationships later on. Do you know how many people, because they waited too late, it now becomes more challenging to rebuild and repair? Do you know a lot of people are tearing down what they built with God, tearing down what they built with themselves, tearing down what they built with their wife, tearing down what they've built with their kids? And now 5 years go by, 7 years go by, 10 years go by, and now it becomes even more challenging to rebuild or repair. Do you know that if you wait till it's too late, you could lose someone that you love? So relatability is an ability that many relationships are not cultivating. I wrote, prioritize relationships and relating to others early on allows for deeper understanding, trust, and connection to develop over time. So when you prioritize your relationships with God's self and loved ones early on, it allows for deeper understanding, trust, and connection to develop over time. So now, God, who has hidden within relationships things you need later on. For instance, in my wife right now is a set of skills, a set of traits, a set of talents, a set of giftings that I'm going to need a year from now. For instance, right now, my wife and I are strong pursuing our family business. Our daughter is 2, approaching 2. My wife feels ready to rock and roll. And so right now, it's amazing to see that because of what we built and because of what we have, now when it's time to take this coaching company to the next level, to take this educational company to the next level, because I've built that trust, because I've fostered that understanding by the help of God, not of my own doing, but my cooperation with him. Now that it's time, we have prioritized. So now that when we're going forward, now I can borrow from what I need from her, and vice versa. So it allows for deeper understanding and trust and connection to build over time. So if you don't invest in them now, then you're going to miss out on the intangible traits, the trust, the eagerness, the excitement, the support that you're going to need in the future. So a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of successful individuals, because they're so focused on their business, because they're so focused on their aspirations, because they're so focused on their accolades, they invest more in the things outside their home than investing in the things in their home. And because they didn't invest in their home, now when they need their home to help sustain what they have built outside the home, there's nothing there for them to have support. But if only those individuals begin to look at success holistically and begin to say, I must invest in my wife, I must invest in my children, I must invest in my family, I must invest in my legacy. Because there's a lot of men, a lot of women that get to 60 and get to 70, and because they didn't invest in their family, and because they didn't invest in themselves holistically or invested in God, now they're lonely. Now they have a life full of regret. So what do you want? Do you want a family that can go out there and get, or do you want to be without a family with regret? It creates a foundation for support, collaboration, and mutual growth, enhancing the quality and longevity of relationships. So when you prioritize the core four and you prioritize the main relationships, it creates a foundation of support. So when you come home from working, or you come home from whatever you're doing, you come home to a foundation. You come home to support. You come home to collaboration. The greatest experiences I have experienced thus far in my marriage is collaboration. It's this entrepreneurial journey that we on, where we're being able to talk business and talk legacy and to talk eternity and talk gifts and talents. That creates the collaboration. But imagine if I didn't respect my wife. Imagine if I didn't treat her right. Imagine if I didn't invest in her. I would not have that collaborative support, and she won't have that collaborative support, vice versa. And it says, and mutual growth. So when you are investing in them, then you actually grow the family. So even though I'm an entrepreneur, even though I'm in ministry, even though I do all these different things, the more I invest in my family, and the more you invest in your family, then everybody grows. And if everybody grows, everyone can sow. Everybody can contribute to the family, can contribute to the legacy, can contribute to what God wants to be contributed to. In essence, don't wait until it's too late to relate. Encourages us to prioritize relationships and invest time and effort in connecting with others before it becomes more challenging or impossible to do so effectively. Now, let's get to the 8 barriers or the 8 root reasons why people are not relatable in their relationships. Now, we're going to be talking about the 8 things, the 8 reasons why a lot of people are not relatable in their relationship. And then we're going to go ahead and pull up the activity. Let me go ahead and get that slide ready. Let me go ahead and get that download ready. And if you're watching right now, go ahead and get your questions ready. We're not too far from the live Q&A. If we have any questions. So good. So now let's talk about the 8 things that makes it difficult for people, or the root reasons why people are not relatable in a relationship. The goal is to be relatable, where people feel connected, where people feel like they belong, where people feel like they're loved, where people feel like you care, when people feel like you're invested, where people feel like that you're with them. Here are some root reasons why a lot of relationships sink due to a lack of relatability. Number 1, lack of empathy. All these points I'm going to do a video on within the next few months, or if the next couple of years, depending on how long the Lord wants me to do this content. Lack of empathy. And the reason why I'm going this thorough and going down to the details of relationships is because a lot of people, they want romantic love. They want relationships. They want to be with someone, but they don't know how to be with themselves. They don't know how to be with God. And if you're not with God, if you're not with yourself, then you're not going to be long with the people that you long to be with. And so we have to get to the nitty gritty of relationship. We got to get to the foundational elements of what it means to sustain these bonds. Number one, lack of empathy. Here's the root cause. Some people struggle to put themselves in others' shoes or understand their perspectives. This lack of empathy can make it difficult to relate to others' feelings, experiences, and challenges. My friend, empathy is key. Unfortunately, a lot of people are empty of empathy because they're not willing to try on other people's shoes. So, for instance, early on with my wife having our daughter, if I didn't have empathy, I would have been frustrated. But because God really challenged me early on in my singleness, He cultivated a level of empathy where I could put my wife's shoes on my feet to feel. I may not fully feel what it feels like to be her, but I could try to put those shoes on to have empathy. So when I even see a glimmer of frustration or a slight disposition of unease, I can jump in and try to bring ease. If not, it will cultivate disease. So it should be like those for Chick-fil-A, like it's my pleasure. That my goal is to please. If I please, I add ease. If I don't please, it adds disease. But without empathy, that can't happen. So some people struggle to put themselves in other people's shoes or understand their perspectives. In other words, arrogant. This lack of empathy can make it difficult to relate to others' feelings, experiences, and challenges. Number two, poor communication skills. Effective communication is essential for building relatable relationships. When individuals lack the ability to express themselves clearly, listen actively, or engage in meaningful conversations, it can hinder relatability. My friend, that is layered, and we'll do another video on this. But I want to briefly talk about communication real quick. There's such thing as poor communication and proper communication. Proper communication is not just about speaking. It's about listening. And not listening to answer, but listening to understand. And also the wisdom and the discipline to only engage in meaningful conversations. Also put a lack of active listening. Active listening is crucial for understanding and connecting with others. When individuals fail to listen attentively, interrupt frequently, or focus on their own response rather than the speaker's message, it can hinder relatability and genuine connection. I have a whole video on communication, and we'll get to that down the road. Number three, fear of vulnerability. Here's the root cause or the barrier. Some people are hesitant to open up or share their true thoughts, feelings, and experiences due to fear of judgment, rejection, or being perceived as weak. This fear can create barriers and prevent genuine connection and relatability in relationships. That's why it's important for your relationships to be arranged, for your friendships to be selected, for family to be selected. What I mean by that, people that you entrust yourself to. Because relationships thrive off of vulnerability in places where the individuals being vulnerable is valued. And where the individual's venting to is a vault. See, when you allow God to surround with the right people, then you can be vulnerable because you valued, and you can be vulnerable because you know the person that you're being vulnerable to is a vault. See, my friend, there's a big difference between vaults and vultures. See, vultures, they love gossip. Vultures love eating off dead communication. They love eating off of dead information. They love eating off of dying situation, depressing situations. And what they do, they eat the conversation. They've become vultures of it, and they only go out there and share what you shared. But when you're dealing with vaults, these individuals can hold the tea. They can hold your feelings. They can hold your dreams, aspirations, your guilts, your whatever. So when you begin to understand that, y'all, you can't be a person that's afraid to be vulnerable. It says some people are hesitant to open up or share their true thoughts, feelings, and experiences due to fear of judgment, rejection, or being perceived as weak. That's why, like I helped this young lady at school today. I told her she felt as if that she's the type of person that helps others more than she helps herself. And I told her, as a person, it was the same way when I was young. I began to tell her the importance of having a strong relationship with God and herself, because not everybody has the mittens to handle the heat of your life. A lot of things I can't share with my wife that I can only share with God. I'm talking about vulnerabilities and fears and concerns that a husband may not feel the need to share to a wife, especially situationally. There may be a time where my wife, especially these first 2 years, she wouldn't be able to handle that level of vulnerability, especially what she was going through. But because I had God and because I have myself, I was able to regulate those emotions. I was able to vent through those different things to keep myself and to keep my wife from unnecessarily stressing or becoming anxious. So that's important. But you cannot allow the fear of vulnerability to keep you from it. Number 4, self-centeredness. I'll read through these quickly so we can get to the activity. Root cause: a focus on oneself and one's own needs, desires, and interests without considering others can lead to a lack of relatability. Oh, there's a period. Relationships require mutual understanding and shared experiences, which cannot be achieved if one is primarily focused on themselves. My friend, self-centeredness will sink relationships. Selfishness is the main torpedo that sinks relationships. It's when the individual begin to think about themselves and not the collective. Number 5, unresolved personal issues. Personal issues such as past traumas, unresolved conflicts, or emotional baggage can impact the individual's ability to relate to others. These unresolved issues may cause emotional distance, mistrust, and difficulty in forming relatable relations. My friend, what are those areas in you that you have yet to resolve? How can you and your family solve a problem as a family business, solve as a collaboration in ministry, or solve however you desire to solve if there's issues in you that has yet to be resolved? So we got to ask God. That's why relationship with God is important. Relationship with self is important. Because when y'all begin to relate with each other, you and God, and you relate to yourself, you will begin to see the need to resolve those conflicts. Number 6, inflexibility and rigidity or rigidness. Here, a lack of flexibility and adaptability in thinking and behavior can hinder relatability. When individuals are unwilling to consider alternative viewpoints, adapt to change, or compromise, it can create tension and conflict in relationships. You and I cannot be inflexible or rigid, where we don't give grace. Imagine having unrealistic expectations, not being able to be flexible. Everything has to happen this way. You're not even considering the other person, that you're so rigid, you're so inflexible that when God asks you to move, you won't. When you know you need to move in direction, you won't, etc. Let's keep going for time's sake. Number 7, lack of authenticity. Authenticity is essential for building trust and relatability in relationships. When individuals present a false image, hide their true selves, or engage in superficial interactions, it can lead to mistrust and prevent genuine connection. Number 8, emotional unavailability. Emotional unavailability, characterized by inability or unwillingness to express and share emotions, can hinder relatability. Relationships require emotional connection and vulnerability, and without it, individuals may struggle to relate and connect with others on a deeper level. My friend, I cannot afford to be emotionally unavailable. These 8 things that you're going to have to process, and I'm going to have to process, to ensure that there is no barriers of relatability. God wants stronger connections. God wants you and him to be strong. He wants you and you to have a strong bond. He wants you and your family, the key people, to have a strong bond, because when you have those strong bonds that trickles down from the strongest bond, which is God, then you will begin to see this level of supernatural connectivity this supernatural cohesiveness, this supernatural synergy that ensures that you guys make it to your divine destination. See, relationships are ships. And that's why it's not wise to board a ship with someone you don't relate to. Relatability is not just one dimensional. Relatability is four dimensional, if not five dimensional, if not six dimensional. See, relatability requires there to be the ability to relate spiritually. The Bible says, don't be unequally yoked with non-believers. You can also add to that, don't be unequally yoked with quote unquote believers. Or you might as well call those believers, those babe believers, non-believers, because they haven't reached a level of belief at your level of belief. But when you begin to understand that metaphor, being unequally yoked, I'm pretty sure some of y'all have heard this, is that most people who are unequally yoked, well, I'll paint the picture. So yoke is when two cattle are yoked by the neck together. And the goal is for the guy or the gal, whoever is stewarding these oxen, is to ensure they are equal weight and equal strength. Because if not, it will hinder production and it will kill one of the calves. Most people don't know that when you're unequally yoked, or when a cow is unequally yoked, the stronger cow is the one that is most impacted. Not just most impacted, threatened by death. When you try to pull your weight, then pull the weight of somebody else, then pull the weight of the carriage, which is the marriage, it breaks the neck of the stronger calf. That's why the one who loves the least leads or controls the relationship. The one who loves the least controls the relationship, meaning that they're the one that's causing the stronger individuals to overwork. That's why you're suffocating trying to carry dead weight. You want a live weight. You want living weight. You want vibrant weight to be yoked beside with. You don't want a person who is not spiritually able. Imagine being married to someone that you don't relate spiritually to. That person, the moment they go through a trial, they wilt under the pressure. They don't know how to pray through anything. They don't know how to pray and fast and grow through anything. Imagine being yoked up with someone or trying to relate to someone who don't even serve the same God as you. Imagine the second dimension is imagine trying to relate to someone who's not mentally there, who don't have good critical thinking skills, who think about themselves, who are just off mentally. Imagine trying to relate to someone who's emotionally unregulated, who you can't even trust. You have to sleep with one eye open. But every time you get into a conflict, it escalates too quickly. Imagine trying to relate to somebody who is not physically relatable, who don't go to the gym, who don't endeavor to eat right. And now all of a sudden they die off in the first 5 years in a marriage. Imagine trying to relate to someone who has no relationship skills, who's not relational. So you just can't just be able to say, okay, we are attracted sexually, physically. You got to say, are we holistically attractive together? Because if none of us will walk beside a ship, board a ship with a 50-foot hole on the side. But how many of us are boarding relationships with people who have holes in them and we have holes in us, and we wonder that we're barely 50 yards away from the harbor and we're sinking? So you and I got to make sure that we examine these barriers to ensure that we are strong carriers. We got to ask ourselves, do I have a lack of empathy? Do I have poor communication skills? Do I have a severe vulnerability? Am I self-centered? Do I have unresolved personal issues? Am I inflexible and rigid? Do I lack authenticity? Am I emotionally unavailable? If so, my friend, your relationship won't last. And so we have a ton of videos and content. I'm setting the foundation first. A lot of these topics are not going to be sexy. A lot of these topics ain't going to be what people want to hear or what people click to hear. But my friend, the more you begin to meditate on these things and you begin to understand these things, then you'll begin to see your relationships grow. You begin to see your business grow. You begin to see your creative endeavors grow, etc., etc., etc. So let's go ahead and get this activity on the screen. It's available now on my website, mycoachjosh.com. Let me go ahead and post the worksheet link so you can download this worksheet right now. Oh, my wife said amen. So you know I'm preaching today. I'm teaching. Let me go ahead and share this link. Hey, questions and research. Hope everyone's well. Let's go ahead and share this worksheet. It is the Relatability Reflection Action Plan. Simple worksheet. Free on my website. The objective is to enhance relatability in relationships by understanding and implementing key strategies. My goal with my YouTube channel is not just to teach, not just to preach, not just to reach. My goal is to make sure that you are able to apply what has been heard. That's why I give these worksheets for free, so that you can be able to do the activity and begin to see tangible growth in your life. Number one, self-assessment. Reflect on your current relationships and identify areas where relatability may be lacking. Consider past interactions, conflicts, or misunderstandings. Reflect on your current relationships and identify areas where relatability may be lacking. Next, rate your level of relatability in each relationship on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being highly relatable and 1 being not relatable at all. Number 2, identify relatability barriers. List any, let me see if I got it here. List any barriers or challenges that hinders relatability in relationships. These could include lack of communication, misunderstandings, differing interests, or personality clashes. You can also go through my 8 things that I just shared. Go through, you can say, hey, I have empathy problems. I have poor communication skills. I have fear of vulnerability. I'm self-centered, unresolved personal issues, inflexibility, lack of authenticity, emotional unavailability. Identify those barriers. Number 3, choose a relationship to focus on. The first one, my friend, that I suggest to focus on is you and God in partnership with you and you. Work on those 3, that unit of relationships. Select one relationship where you would like to improve relatability. Or you may want to focus on your wife. That's fine too. Focus on your spouse. Focus on your children. That's cool too. But choose one. Let's focus on one a month. Let's think about that. Let's do that. This could be a family member, friend, colleague, or romantic partner. For an action plan, based on the barriers you've identified, develop a specific action plan to enhance relatability in your chosen relationship. For example, if communication is a barrier, schedule regular check-ins or deep conversations to better understand each other's perspective. That is so simple, but difficult. You have to schedule check-ins. My wife, right now, when I finish this video, she's gonna check in. I promise you. If our daughter is asleep, when I finish this video, either I go in there and check in, or she comes in and checks in. Or when I first get home, if I'm not super tired, then I'll go in there and there's natural organic check-ins. But if your relationship is not at that level where it's organically checking in on itself, then you got to organize check-ins until they become organic check-ins. If differing interests are a challenge, find common activities or topics that you both enjoy to create shared experiences. So if you with your child or your wife or your husband and you have differing interests as a challenge, she likes this, he likes that. Every activity, every interest has a common ground. Everybody's interests have a common ground. So find common activities or create the common ground. Say, you know what, if we both like something, because each and every one of us likes something in a similar or same category. So write your interest down. This would be a great activity for spouses, of course, or with anyone in your family you want to work on. Write down all of your interests. Have your wife write all her interests. Have your husband write all his interests. Have your children write all his interests, and see what interests overlap. And whatever interests overlap, that's where you bridge the gap. That's when you say, okay, we're going to invest in this. We're going to create activities that we both enjoy to create those shared experiences. Number 5, implement and reflect. Put your action plan into practice over the next month. Regularly reflect on your progress, noting any improvements in relatability and adjustments needed to your approach. So I encourage you to get a notebook or a journal, a relational journal, and I want you, or you can create because I'm gonna give y'all worksheets a lot. Create a 3 holes in these worksheets, and I have extra paper as well. And begin to utilize these pages of journals, or just take this first page and create a relationship journal. You can get my relationship journal. I don't have extra pages in this relationship journal, but this journal, this workbook is this workbook. So it's not a journal, but there are journal pages in that workbook that will help you. But get a notebook and say and you and God and all these different other relationships, and begin to work on these things. Let's see if there's anything else I want to share. By actively working to enhance relatability in your relationships through open communication, empathy, shared experiences, and understanding, you can foster stronger connections and mutual respect with others. Remember, building relatability takes time, effort, and genuine interest in understanding and connecting with others on a deeper level. My friend, you don't want shallow relationships. You want deep ones. You want relationships with depth. So I pray this video was a blessing to you. I know we're getting very foundational. I know we're getting very fundamental, but it's important. And so we're going to be going through next video. We're going to be talking about, Lord willing, the interconnectedness of relationships. We're going to be talking about how our relationship with God, our relationship with self, our relationship with our spouses and children, and the people that we influence, whether in business or in the marketplace or however, how they're all interconnected. And if one relationship is poor, all relationships will end up being poor. You can prosper in one, but you won't prosper for a long period of time if they're all not prospering. And so if you need more support, or if you want to really, as we go through these videos, have the resources ready, then check out my my relationship resource pack. My book, go to the left, is The Purpose of Relationships. For those who've been rocking me for a long period of time, you already know my book, The Purpose of Singleness. And so this is The Purpose of Relationships. Also get the workbook because they work together. Also, that phone right there, we have a relationship mastery program. If you want to get to a place where you expedite your relationship to the point to where they're strong and they're solid and those bonds are strengthened, then I have a 6-month relationship course, relationship coaching program designed to make you a master of relationships. Because I promise you, family, you want to get to a place where you can execute in excellence effortlessly, where you can execute excellently and not perfectly, but excellently in your relationships effortlessly, where you can be able to, it will be effortless. It won't be a struggle. It will be just a flow. And I've learned this in my life, and the Lord has helped me through my experience and through my exegetical ability to be able to create a framework that will help you get to relationship mastery, or be equipped with the tools for relationship mastery, that you'll be able to say, man, my marriage is better than ever. I'm connecting at a deeper level with my children. I'm connecting deeper with God. Even if you're single, relationship mastery is for you as well, because we want to make sure that you're set up for success for God's best, so that you'll be able to say, man, me and God are closer than we've ever been. Me and myself are closer than we've ever been. And that's important. Also, oh man, I got to create a graphic for my card game, Relate. Man, I love this card game. It's a fun, interactive card game for you and your family and loved ones to play through to sustain relatability and better relate in your relationship. Also, I'll be going through multi-purpose as well. This is the 10th book I wrote. These 2 books, Multi-Purpose and The Purpose of Relationships, are going to be 2 of the books and resources we're going to be going through for weeks and months on end, Lord willing. So check out the relationship. Let me go ahead and post the links to all those, so that you'll be able to get access to those videos. Not videos, so you get access to those coaching programs, books, card games, etc. And for those who's watching me later, those links are in the description box below. Later Latrell says, I can't wait for you all to do a live together. I will definitely tune in for the insight the Lord has given you all. Well, I don't. So my wife is ready, and so it's no coincidence that you are already sharing that. My wife is ready, and we're going to go at my wife's pace, but she's excited to be able to pour into you all, and we're excited to be able to pour into you all in the various areas. My wife is open. She's going to be doing a lot in our coaching program. So my wife is going to be in our thriving community. Also, check out our life work communities. She's going to be helping out a lot, but how the Lord leads her in thriving together, and she'll be working in the community. So if you're ready for that, ready for my wife and myself, we're not going to be that gimmicky relationship couple. So we're not going to be gimmicky. We're not going to be try hards. This is authentic and original, and our goal is to make sure that your families are solid, that your faith is solid, that you are fundamentally solid as an individual. So my wife she'll be doing YouTube videos with me as well, based upon how the Lord leads her. And also she's definitely helping in the coaching program. So if you want and you're excited about that, check out Relationship Mastery, check out Thriving Together. Talk to your husband, talk to your wife, talk to yourself. If you're single and you're ready to prepare, my wife and I are ready to help. So there's no coincidence, Lady Latrell, that you said that, because my wife is ready to go. And she's over here talking to people. Look at her. Look at her. She's out here cleaving to your wife and husband. That's right. Cleaving keeps you from leaving. I don't think we have any questions. I love you all. Thank you all so much for your support. Some of you all are already going to the coaching program. Some of y'all going to the community. Some of y'all going, and we just appreciate your generosity. We appreciate your, not generosity. I mean, if you want to give and support what we do, that's cool too. But we appreciate your support. And we know for a fact that our resources are going to help you grow. And so we love you all. Links to the description box, all that good stuff. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.